Hey guys, my name's Sophia. Today I'm going to be doing my Gothic literature book collection. So I've been saying a lot during these past few videos that Gothic lit is my favorite type of classic genre to read. So I have my big collection. I'll have timestamps for each different book. I have it divided by book, author, and then just all the miscellaneous ones at the end. So let's just get right into all my different Gothic classics. So first we're gonna start off with Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. So I have 3 editions of Frankenstein so far. The first one that I have is the Penguin Classics edition. These are just the regular black spine Penguin Classics. Yes, I've been getting into collecting the Penguin Classics, especially like these because they all look really nice on a shelf together. So I'm glad that I have Frankenstein as a part of my collection. The other type of classics I love collecting the most are the Arcturus collection, and this is the copy of Frankenstein. It has the creature and lightning on it, which I love. I will say these aren't the greatest for readability, but I do absolutely love their covers for, well, you'll see all the other ones I have, so there we go. And last but not least, I have the Barnes & Noble, kind of like flexi bound, I think is what they're called. So it's not quite a hardcover, but it's not a paperback. And this one, again, is very Gothic with the castle and the lightning. And I have not read this one physically, but I do think it is the 1818 edition. I just love these for the look of them, and this is the only one that I have besides like the Odyssey, which isn't in this video, but I do definitely want to collect more of these editions, especially for the Gothic classics. Moving on, we have my biggest book collection in terms of classics, and that is Jane Eyre. I have a ton of Jane Eyre editions, so let's just get right on into. So first off, we have the Penguin Black Classic. Again, I got this one recently for school, and so it has the spine and it looks great with my copy of Frankenstein. Then we also have the Arcturus edition of Jane Eyre, which I actually did read this one from this edition. And yeah, this one has a little castle, which oh no, it is a mansion. Okay, so I'm assuming it's Thornhill, but yeah, I love these covers so much. Next, I have the Penguin English Library edition, which has this design, and this is the one that has these stripes. I got this edition when I was in Europe, so I really do love this edition. However, I did spill coffee on it one day, which kind of sucks. But I have read this one, and I do love these, and I do want to collect more, but they're kind of hard to get to the US, which is kind of sad, but there we go. Next, I have the Chiltern edition of Jane Eyre, which is this smaller edition that has gold foiling and flowers on it. I want to collect the Gothic classics that they have in this edition. I know they have a copy of Dorian Gray and Frankenstein, and I think Dracula too. I want to collect these so bad, but this is like $30. These puppies are expensive, so I only have the one for now. But I love this edition, and I had to get Jane Eyre for it. So there we go. Next, I have the Word Cloud Classic Edition. So it has a bunch of different words from the story all around it, which I love. This edition I also read portions from, which is really nice. But yeah, this is the only Word Cloud Classic I have, but I do want more in the future. Next, I have another edition that I got from Barnes & Noble, and I have a few of these. This one's just generic pink floral. I don't remember the specific name of this, but there we go. Sorry if you can hear my dog trying to get into the room. Next, we have the new Barnes & Noble editions that I've been loving, and that is their paperback. So this one's also kind of pink and great. These do have like a flap and stuff, but they're just a generic paperback. But I do honestly love these editions, and I really want them to come out with more titles in these editions. So there we go. I promise we're almost done with Jane Eyre. The next one we have I love, and I'm planning to get the Dracula edition of soon, but that is the Seasons edition. So it's a, like, I think it's die cut is what they are, but it has this design, and it's Jane and Rochester, and it looks so good. And this one's a part of the winter, so the cover's blue. It came with like a library binding. I have not read this edition because I'm kind of scared to ruin it, but they have like, where is it, like the front design with like quotes and stuff in it. They're so pretty. I only have two editions of this one and Tale of Two Cities, but like I said, I'm planning on getting the Dracula one for Christmas. So there we go. And last but not least, we have this edition of Jane Eyre, which is like an interactive edition. I've only seen Jane Eyre in like some of Jane Austen's books in these editions. I don't know what they're called. It's from Andrews McMeel Publishing. But I got this at Barnes & Noble. There are illustrations inside, but there's also like a letter. Oh, I don't know what fell out or where it came from. This is like another thing from Charlotte Bronte. Note about the novel. So it has like interactive things in it, which is so cool to me. And I definitely want to read it, the story with these things in it. And then there's just like some floral imagery throughout the book and like volume 2. It just, this is so gorgeous. And I absolutely love it. I got it, I think, as a birthday gift. But yeah, I really want to read this edition and look at all the little extra goodies that are inside of it. So there we go. Alright, so those were all of my Jane Eyre editions. Now moving on to Dracula. So first I have this Puffin Classic Edition. This is another one I got when I was studying abroad, and I had to get it because all these little blue things, if you can't really see, are bats. And it has a kind of snow globe looking thing with the Dracula's castle, which is perfect because I got to go to Dracula's castle. I have read this edition. I do really like it. It is a very thick edition. But yeah, I do like this, and I love the cover, and I've never seen this like cover slash edition in the US before, and I typically look for Gothic classics a lot, so I snagged this up as soon as I saw the design. So there we go. Next we have the Dracula version of that Barnes & Noble edition that I don't have a name for it. I don't know what these editions are called. They had them for like an interesting amount of time, and like they were always in like the bargain section of Barnes & Noble, and then they just disappeared. So the ones I have are the ones I have. But yeah, so this is a copy of Dracula. And then I have the Arcturus edition of Dracula. This one had some like zombie looking hands coming out of it. I have read this edition, and like I said, they're fine for readability. It's just the way the print sometimes is printed is a little bit weird. But yeah, there's this one. And then I have the Oxford World Classics edition. If I don't have a Penguin edition, then I usually have one for these because I do love the Oxford Classics. One I have read, I got it for school, so there's like tabs in it, and it has just a depiction of Dracula on it. And then last but not least for Dracula, I have another Arcturus edition, but this is like the deluxe edition. So it comes in this sleeve. You pull it out, and here is the book. I have not read this one through this copy yet. I think, yeah, there's not much extras. I think there's an illustration or two throughout, but yeah, it's just a copy of the book in a very big form. Moving on. Next, we have my Edgar Allan Poe collection, so let's get started. First, we have this collector's, Barnes & Noble Collector's Library, very tiny pocket edition, and it is the Tales and Poems of Edgar Allan Poe. So it is just a collection of some of his tales and some of his poems. I have not read this collection all the way through yet. I have read other ones though, so there's this little pocket edition. We have the Arcturus, the Poetry of Edgar Allan Poe. I believe this has not all of his poems, but most of his poetry. And I have read this all the way through. I read it this year actually, so there is that. Next we have the Flame Tree Edgar Allan Poe collection. They have a lot of like short stories and poetry that's Gothic and horror in these collections, but this is the only one I have so far. I have gone through this one a little bit, but like I said, I haven't read all of Poe's work, but I do like this edition. It's very nicely laid out, so there we go. Next, I do have a complete edition of Edgar Allan Poe. It is this very old Barnes & Noble Fall River edition. It's a complete edition. This one is tabbed, so I've tabbed some favorite stories and favorite poems. Again, I have not read everything he owns, but I do have a collection to do it. Yeah, this one I got like at a thrift store a while ago, so I've had it for a very long time. The cover is a little bit ripped, but that's okay because you always gotta have at least one complete collection of Poe, you know? And last but not least, I have the deluxe Arcturus edition of Tales of Mystery and Imagination by Edgar Allan Poe. This is the same edition that the Dracula came in, and I believe this one just has, yeah, this one just has Poe's short stories in it. Moving on, we have Dorian Gray. I only have 2 editions of Dorian Gray. I have the Barnes & Noble's like standard edition of it, which is the one I read for school. So this one is all highlighted. And then I have the new Barnes & Noble edition that is a part of their like new collection, the Signature Classics. There we go. So I have this edition and this one. So yeah, those are my 2 copies of Dorian Gray. Sure to get more in the future. Next, I have 2 copies of Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte. I have the Penguin Classics edition with the black spine, and I have the Arcturus edition. I've yet to read this book. However, they're so different, and like this one's double the size, so I'm not quite sure why. If it's just like, oh, that is a very long introduction. I found out why. Okay, so yeah, there we go. I need to read those soon. Next, I have 2 editions of The Haunting of Hill House by Shirley Jackson. I have the Penguin Classics, but this one's a very used school-like edition that I bought. And then I have the Penguin Deluxe edition that I got in an Owl Crate box years ago. Yeah, I have not read this yet, but I plan to very soon. So there we go. Next, I have my copies of Phantom of the Opera. So first, I have this, I don't even know what kind of edition this is, Dalmatian Press edition of Phantom of the Opera. This is the first edition I have. It's a very stiff, kind of not great edition, but I have it. And then the one I read was the Arcturus edition, which I love the cover for so much. It has Christine singing. So yeah, there's this. And then the other edition that I have, so the other edition that I have of Phantom of the Opera is a part of a big Gothic tales and like collection, and that is the Barnes & Noble leather edition. So it has Phantom of the Opera, but it also has short stories by Edgar Allan Poe, Mary Shelley, Horace Walpole. It has the vampire in it, Arthur Machen, H.P. Lovecraft, all that stuff. So this has a bunch of Gothic tales. I really want to get to reading this soon. It has a ton of like classic Gothic tales that I would love to read. But yeah, I just count it as Phantom of the Opera because it has Phantom of the Opera on the title. So there we go. Next, we have my Daphne Du Maurier collection. So I have 3 novels and 1 short story collection by her. So we have Don't Look Now, which is a collection of her short stories. This one has like the birds, stuff like that. And we have her 3 novels that I have. We have My Cousin Rachel, which this is the movie cover, which I'm not a big fan of, and I might be getting a new edition to match these. But then we have Rebecca and Jamaica Inn. I don't really know much about any of her novels. This one I know has to do with like a wife, either she's dead or secret in hiding, I don't know. This one I'm assuming has to do with a cousin named Rachel, and then this one I think has like a haunted house, haunted inn vibe, I think. But yeah, that's my little Daphne Du Maurier collection. So next I have just some random one-off like Gothic novels that I only have 1 from like this particular author so far, and then 2 more collections of stories. So first we have Sleepy Hollow and Other Stories by Washington Irving. This is an edition I got in, again, another Owl Crate. It is Rock Paper Books edition. Yeah, I have read this. I do love The Legend of Sleeping Hollow, so there we go. Next we have the Arcturus edition of Turn of the Screw by Henry James. I wasn't a huge fan when I first read this, but I do think I need to give it a reread. So there we go. We have the Arcturus edition of Northanger Abbey by Jane Austen. This one's a debate of whether it's actually a Gothic novel or not, because it kind of just makes fun of a particular Gothic novel, which I have. Northanger Abbey is a parody of The Mysteries of Udolpho by Anne Radcliffe. This is a classic staple in Gothic literature. I have the Oxford World's Classics edition. I have not read this one yet, but I'm dying to, so there we go. Then I have The Woman in White by Wilkie Collins in the Arcturus edition. I love this edition so much. Yeah, I definitely need to read this one soon as well. It's just a very chunky book, so I will get to it eventually. Next we have 2 more and the last 2 books in this list. Short stories collections. So I lied when I said I only had 1 word cloud classics. I have this one. This is Classic Horror Stories. Horror Tales, excuse me. But yeah, this has some stuff by Edgar Allan Poe, some stuff by Stoker, so like The Telltale Heart, Dracula's Guest. It has Henry James' Turn of the Screws in here, which is nice. yeah, so this is another collection of horror gothic tales. Never have too many of those. And then I have another Fall River book, and that is their collection of Penny Dreadfuls. So this one actually has excerpts from like Frankenstein. It has The Whole of the Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. It has The Mummy's Curse by Melissa May Alcott. Yeah, it has The Pit and the Pendulum. Almost every one of my collections has The Pit and the Pendulum by Edgar Allan Poe in it. It has a bunch of tales and things like that. Yeah, it has Frankenstein. I don't think it's the full thing. So this is another big collection of Penny Dreadfuls or Gothic tales. Whew! We did it. So those were my Gothic Classics collection. I am always looking to grow my Gothic Classics collection so much. I love owning multiple editions of my favorite classics, as you can tell. If you have any Gothic classic recommendations for me, please leave a comment down below, or if you have any editions that you prefer reading for classics, also let me know down below. I am open to collecting almost any edition of these books. Thank you guys so much for watching. I enjoyed making this. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you don't mind, and check out any links in the description box below, and I will see you guys for another video very soon. Bye guys!